Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Ricardo, for your introduction. Okay, it's a nice, it's a difficult but also a beautiful challenge for me to try to tell you in 40 minutes the strategy that we are using to face this important issue for our country, especially from the research perspective. It's also a big challenge to keep your attention, considering that I'm talking after Dr. Temple Grande. So my talk will focus on mainly in three topics. First, we will talk about the evolution of public perception about animal welfare. Then we will share some information. We selected some experiments to share with you about animal welfare and meat quality also. And then briefly, we will talk about the philosophical and educational foundations regarding our research strategy. So let's go to the first topic. You know that intensification that have been occurring during the second half of the 20th century, trying to increase productivity, not to optimize, implied several changes in productive methods, and in some cases, like in poultry, for example, the systems became what consumers call meat factories. The big issue is that meanwhile, several societal changes were occurring, and these people were concerned about the treatment of animals and the way we are working with them. So why this happened? I think that probably because of the joint effect of many factors, but I think that mostly because of these two I chose, and I think they are the most important, and this is the increased increased availability of scientific information regarding animal behavior, animal intelligence, and also the ability that animals have to feel emotions, negative and positive emotion, especially pain. Let me tell you that pain perception and the pain perception and the way the animal really feel pain. I mean, many people have been demonstrated that they don't have many differences from us, at least in superior vertebrates. So I think this was really very important, and science really improved in that area in the last years. So it's probably that, added to the evolution of the human-animal bond, especially based on human-animal relationships, maybe because of social issues or family issues, many changes that are occurring. Probably these both effects contributed to the moral evolution of people's sensibility. The fact is that we have to keep informed, a sensible and an informed society that are ruling our market. They are really pushing on the livestock sector. And our big challenge is to tell them that we are emphasizing and that we are thinking that animal welfare is a key attribute when we are talking about systems and about our production system. It's a key aspect in ethics, okay? We have to contemplate their concerns, their ethical concerns. So I really think that we have to prepare to these kind of things, and we also have to be prepared for those kind of things. Of course, we have extremely people, but we have people who are meat consumers, and we have to give answers to them also, okay? Because they are increasingly concerned about animal welfare. We have to take into consideration that since the scientific revolution in the 1960s, we have been many countries, including Uruguay, we have been fighting, trying to attempt to bring science closer to society, okay? So maybe these things that are happening are a direct consequences of these efforts that we have been doing. So the big question, and I love that slide, the big question that we have to answer and to help people to answer is that why should they love this animal and why should they be indifferent to the suffering of others? How can we do that? Okay, I think that we should provide them information, scientific information based on real scientific data But this data should cover in the production system, and the consumer's ethical concerns should be addressed. We also strongly think that simple extrapolation of information or methodologies from intensive to extensive systems are incorrect and probably biased. So, what happened to animal welfare in the extensive systems? Okay. It has been highlighted by research that careful consumers and very informed consumers have preferences. I mean, they have a favorable image about extensive livestock systems, and they associate that meat that come from this system have positive attributes, okay? And creating negative expectations when meat is coming from intensive systems, cereal-based ones. Probably this could be explained or associated to the benefits that our meat has related to human health, okay? Percentage of lipids or fatty acid composition. But all of us know that it's also based on the concept of friendly to the environment and animal friendly. But is that true? I mean, is it true that animals in extensive systems have a better welfare status? Okay. It's true. It's true especially in some aspect. It's true when we are talking about the possibility of expressing some behaviors, some important behaviors for grazing animals, like grazing, explorating, walking, ruminating. But it's true also that we have some problems associated to our system. For example, nutritional stress that is linked to the variability in forage production, also heat stress and painful practices. We are working. We have working in many of that, and we have solutions for most of them. But we are still working on others, like the last ones, painful procedures. So our double challenge as a research institute is to generate objective information showing our comparative advantages related to animal welfare and also meat quality. But not less important, we have to improve those practices associated to this system that could compromise animal welfare in the short term, and that they could, and that probably they could turn in non-tariff barriers. Okay, even if they are not perceived, even if these threats are not perceived by consumers. That is why today we selected some research lines. In these research lines, we selected some experiments and some results of those experiments to share today. But our big intention is to give you big messages behind these research lines, okay? And what about our local research? Okay. The first question we asked ourselves in Uruguay was, to what extent should we allow this intensification that is growing without affecting the comparative advantages regarding animal welfare and meat quality? Let me tell you that when we talk about the evaluation of animal welfare, in research, of course, we are talking about the integration of these four kinds of indicators, and we also give big importance to temperament. Sometimes I will not focus on all of them, as you can imagine, because it's too many information, but all conclusions that we will talk today arise from the integration of the four indicators. So let me show you this experiment that is truly representative of that line research. Here we compared one treatment that it was 100% pasture-based diet to a concentrate treatment, a confined animals, with intermediate situations, supplementation, of course. You know, there are some grazing patterns. When we are talking about animal welfare, if if the patterns of grazings are not altered, this is a good indicator of good welfare, okay? And in grazing conditions, you probably remember that the animals have a major grazing period early in the morning and another one late in the afternoon. One early in the morning and another one late in the afternoon with intermittent grazing periods along day and night. Okay? This is the baseline ethogram in grazing animals. So if time budget is maintained, it's okay. So in this experiment, of course, animals that came from the confined system, they were deprived for grazing. But when we build, these are polynomic four-grade equations, but that we build to compare the based pasture treatment, we could see that there were no differences. I mean, that in any of these pasture-based treatment, the grazing patterns were altered until this level of intensification, that it was 1.2% of live weight. Okay? Let's see another indication. Frequency of rumination is another direct indication of animal welfare. Here, we also can see that animals in treatment 4 is that, as it was expected, they spent less time rumination. Of course, even considering that in this treatment hay was ad libitum, obviously they ingested less cell wall material, so they spent less time ruminating. And again, when we compare the 3 pasture-based treatments, we could see that they did not have differences in frequency of rumination. So now let's see what happened in this same experiment with some meat quality attributes. Here you can see shear force values with 7, 18 days, and 20 18 days. You can see here that the meat that come this is the confined system, this is the pasture treatment. In both periods, aging periods, the less tender meat come from animals that did not include pasture, okay? And if you look carefully, the only treatment that has values of shear force lower than 3 come from animals in pasture treatment, okay? Usually or traditionally, meat that come from extensive systems have been associated with negative quality attributes. But let me tell you that we have been having this kind of results since many years ago, and also some groups in Brazil, in Argentina, and also in Chile. I was very happy yesterday in our lunch tour, talking to some groups from Denmark and from Germany, and they are having the same results. Okay, their meat coming from pasture is more tender than meat coming from cereals or from confined systems. So, in brief, intensification up to certain levels without deprivation of important behaviors like grazing and ruminating should provide productive and quality benefits without compromising animal welfare. And in Uruguay, the use of concentrates, and in other many countries, as I told you, the use of concentrates to finish cattle is a matter of money and time, and it's not a quality issue. So let's go to the second experiment, or second line research that we chose to share. You know that several authors said that long lireage in slaughterhouses before slaughter is better because the animals have the ability to rest and to recover, and potentially they could replenish glycogen muscle reserves, in muscles. There are several others that says that short lireage are better because the new environment itself enables cattle to rest and recover from the previous stress, transport, etc. International recommendations says that animals should be slaughtered as soon as they arrive at the slaughterhouses. And in addition to that, and what is really important, is that since 2009, the European Union ruled that animals must be fed after 12 hours in lireage at the slaughterhouses. Okay? And this is really important for us because since January 2013, this is applicable to exporting countries, so us. Then, we talked to people, we sat and thought. This is what we say, we sat and thought. We have short travels, okay? We have relative good roads. We have good lairage conditions. We have relative tracks in good conditions. But the most important is that we have short time in traveling and short distances in Uruguay, okay? If you travel 500 kilometers, you go out from Uruguay. So, taking all that in consideration, we consider that it was imperative to generate objective information for our conditions, because maybe these recommendations and this regulation, maybe they are not applicable for our reality. Then we began a research line in which we compare different lairage time, okay? 3 versus 12, 3 versus 15. And we did it always in commercial conditions. Again, remember that the results arise from the integration of all these type of indicators. So let's see this figure. Here you can see the frequency of fights or negative behaviors and time in the slaughterhouse and time in pens, okay? You can see that in the first hour, we didn't have differences between treatment, of course, but these animals went to slaughter, but these animals that remain in pain, okay, each consecutive hour, I mean this binomial proportion comparison shows us that each consecutive hour, the frequency was lower in comparison to the first, and this to the first, and this to the first, and this to the first. So these animals that remain in pain, they have the possibility to rest, to be calmer afterwards, okay? Just keep that in mind. These are the results of rumination of another year, but behavior and physiological indicators behave in the same way in all these experiments. So I choose one from one year and one from another year. Here you can see that the frequency of rumination, this is the frequency of rumination, and this is time, okay, hours. You can see that until 9 hours, here we can say that almost all of the animals in the long lairage were ruminating until 9 hours in pens. So from these results, we dare to say that animals were not feeling the sensation of hungry or were satiated until 15 hours. Why? Because they travel for 4 hours and a half, and they have been in yards fasting, of course, fasting for 2 hours more, okay? Sorry. If you want to see more information about physiological indicators, we have some posters here that you can go there and see more information. Let's see what happened with some carcass and meat quality indicators in this experiment. In the first year, look what happened at final pH, okay? Animals that remain in pains only for 3 hours show pH values higher than 5.8. And I remember that year, 50% of carcasses had pH higher than 5.8. And look what happened to shear force also. Let's see another year. Okay, we think that these results are the consequence of that these animals didn't have the opportunity to rest and recover with the obviously effects on meat, on carcasses pH. Let's see what happens on a second year. In this opportunity, we didn't have differences. We didn't find differences in pH declination, not in final pH, and we didn't find differences in shear force values. So the message we want to leave here today is that the first hours in lairage pens are a critical adaptation stage for animals, especially in the first 3 hours. That shorter lairage periods not only did not improve carcass nor meat quality traits, but in some cases affected them negatively. So according to this experiment, a resting period in pens probably longer than 3 hours should be applicable. And it suggests that it's not necessary to feed animals after 12 hours. Okay? So I really want to tell you that this is very important for us because they imply that international entities such as the European Union or the World Organization for Animal Health should consider geographical differences and contextualize scientific information when writing worldwide regulations or recommendations on animal welfare. Let's go to the third research line that we selected, and it's painful procedure. You know that castration is a necessary practice in extensive systems, especially because the average slaughter age is about 2.5 or 3 years. We have been working in this topic. I mean, evaluating the stress response after different castration methods, and also the stress response with different castration methods at different ages. Okay. Then also the impact of castration methods on meat quality, as I told you, and also the sexual condition on behavior and meat quality. Sexual condition, I mean entire or castrated. You know that traditionally castration in Uruguay was performed with a knife and with the animal without painkillers, and when the animals were 6 to 7 months old. We had the sensation, I mean, we knew, but not by science, that that was changing, but we didn't have objective information. So now we have really objective information from these big areas, livestock areas in Uruguay, and I wanted to see that it was really a nice surprise for us to see that more than 80% of the farmers are castrating animals with less than 3 months old. So this is just for you to see the different methods we evaluated at different ages, and ages were 1 week old, 1 month old, and 7 months old. We tried all the methods at all the ages, okay? We wanted to have all the explanation, all the answers. Again, remember the integration of all these type of indicators. Today I will not go deeply into the stress and each method stress response, but the message, if you want, we can talk later. But the message that we want to leave today is that our results are consistent to international recommendations that says that stress response is reduced as early as the practice is performed, that differences between methods are reduced as early as the practice is performed, and that they are practically inexistent when animals are 1 week old. So we strongly advise to castrate animals as early as possible. It's possible that differences in method, in the stress response after different methods is different from the European Union, for example, because we are talking about extensive systems and we have many peculiarities. Remember that our animals, when we castrate these animals, they are still with their mothers at the 1 week and the 1 month old. So we thought that maybe the emotional link could reduce or diminish the stress response. Okay? Let me show this slide. Here we are talking about the stress level necessary to impact each of these indicators. Okay, but what I want to say, my point is that when productivity or meat quality are affected, it's because all of the others are already affected. Okay, so it's probably that the animal have been in a really bad status of welfare for a long time before. After saying that, I will summarize what I want to say about castration, especially the age of castration. Here you have evolution of live weight with different methods, with animal castrated with 1 week old, 1 month old, and 7 months old. So it's really clear. It's believe or die. This is just some examples of pain behavior after castration at different ages. And what happened to meat quality? Okay, when we evaluate this pH and shear force after 2 and 14 days of aging, we couldn't find differences in between the evaluation methods. We did found some differences in meat color, but they disappeared after 14 days. But we can talk later in the poster, or we can talk later. We cannot go deeply into all the experiments, but the message is that, okay? So in brief, the evaluated castration methods did not determine differences in carcass final pH nor in shear force value. So considering that these qualities were not mainly affected, we think that only animal welfare criteria should define the method, the castration method. Okay, about this topic. You know that we told you several times that intensification is growing in Uruguay, and feedlot, they are not many, but we have some confined system here in Uruguay. So we thought that probably this new scenario would imply that we can reach slaughter weights earlier with younger animals, and probably non-castrating could be an alternative with these younger animals, okay? That is why we began this line research when we compare. In this case, we did it with different breeds, and we slaughter animals with 22 and 20 months old. Let me show you the results in Bradford, for example. We didn't find differences in pH or shear forces, especially in pH, yes, but in shear forces after 14 days. But we found differences with 2 aging days, okay? That it was solved, as you can see, with the aging period. But it's very interesting, and I have to mention that with Hereford we didn't find this. I mean, we didn't have differences in shear force, even with 2 days of aging. So what does it mean? Or what is the big message? That there are no differences in meat quality traits when we slaughter young animals, and when we have the possibility of aging this meat to age this meat for 14 days. Okay, so that means that Uruguayan meat industry has an alternative to be developed in animals from grain-fed system. But further research should be conducted to evaluate at what age behavior and meat quality from entire animals should be negatively and definitely affected. So let's go briefly to the last part of the talk. You know, the strategy of science, technology, and society, facing research, teaching, and outreach, offer the citizens of modern high-technology society resources with which to evaluate analytically, aesthetically, and ethically the benefits and the risks, the perils and the promises of notable advances in science and technology. So what do I mean? What's my point? My point is that, as I told you, we have been trying since, especially Uruguay, we have been defining educational strategies attempting to bring people closer to science, as I told you. So we are educating people for democracy, for knowledge construction, for critical thinking, to build their capacity to argue, to disagree, and to self-express, to respond knowledgeably and reflectively to most of the important challenges of the contemporary world. So what I want to say is that we create that people that we were talking before, okay? The people that were complaining. So we have to be prepared. We have to be prepared to answer them all the questions they have and all their concerns. Of course, we have extreme people, but here we are talking mainly about regular people who are meat consumers, but they are really concerned about animal welfare. So we have to deal with her, and we think that the most intelligent way is to involve them in science, okay? And that is what this strategy means. We strongly think that science should not be isolated, but should consider the social reality. And our institution, that is, our budget comes from for farmers, we think that is a clear example of STS. Sorry, sir, see, it's STS. We are just not building knowledge, but we are building knowledge to be applied to society, okay? We are really looking for civic engagement, professional responsibility, and ethics. So we have to take into account these people have the level to participate in science, citizens, and all the other stakeholders in the meat chain. So we are always trying to take their opinions, okay? Finally, let me tell you that we in Uruguay, we have the highest educational index in Latin America, real education, okay? After Cuba, but I mean construction of knowledge. I'm sorry. We have the second most peaceful country in America after Canada. Uruguay and Costa Rica are the only completed democracies in Latin America. We have the highest number of university students in America, and we have the lower corruption index with Chile in Latin America. Okay? So, this is not a political talk, and I am not trying to convince you to invest in Uruguay. Okay? My point is that we have really a good platform, okay, for our people welfare, for our production, and for working in ethical conditions. We really think, we want to emphasize that we are working seriously and with transparency, and that we really trust in education and in science, because we think that it is the only way for us, for our country. And I personally think that is the only way for the whole humanity, okay? So let me go to the final comment, where here I will try to emphasize the most important concepts from the topic. You know that public sensibility and concerns about animal welfare are continuously growing. So, taking this into consideration, animal welfare is a business opportunity. It's a potential tool for differentiation for exporting countries with pastoral production systems like Uruguay, of course. We also strongly think, as it was said, that scientific information should be generated in local realities and considered by international entities before writing regulations. And extensive systems, we try to show you that extensive systems have peculiarities related to animal welfare and advantages related to meat quality, but we strongly want to say that we have serious science taking care of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcia.